DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today as PFS have released the potential trade where DeAndre Hopkins to be heading to Kansas City before the deadline. We're going to talk about all the ins and outs and how this could possibly work with Hopkins heading to Kansas City. But before we do that, make sure you're joining our Noti Gang. Turn on those notifications as you want to be ready for when the Chiefs make a move, not if, when. I believe in Brett Veach. I think he can make a splash, so make sure you turn on those notifications to know exactly when the Chiefs make a move, as the 2023 trade deadline is literally coming up on you sooner than later. This Tuesday, make sure you're a part of the Chiefs Report Noti Gang and you know exactly what happens with all things Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go into this PFF trade that we had proposed with a pretty simple trade here. Chiefs get DeAndre Hopkins. The Titans get a 2024 third-round pick. Now, the Chiefs only have their picks from 1 through 5, so that would take out one of them, obviously. But here's the good news. You keep your first-round pick. You keep your second-round pick. You keep everybody on your roster. You just get DeAndre Hopkins. You give up the third-round pick. It's tough. You're probably going to have to make maybe a little room for cap space. Luckily, DeAndre Hopkins' contract is a nice, pleasant one, which we'll talk to you about in just a minute. But overall, he's a guy who's been a prolific receiver for ever since he's joined the league, back when he was with the Texans, then went to Arizona. Now this year, I'm going to say he's a little hobbled by his quarterback being Ryan Tannehill. 27 receptions, almost 14 yards on the average. No touchdowns, surprisingly, but again, Mike Vrabel's a defensive-minded head coach. Ryan Tannehill is a subpar quarterback, so therefore, I think that's going to be the attributing factor to that. I think he could be a much-needed boost to this wide receiver core. Obviously, there's not really a wide receiver one just yet. I think Rashee Rice is on pace to be that, but he's still a rookie. And given Hopkins, you could get him for this year. He has that next year, or you can take him there. Then you're probably good with Rashee. I kind of like it. It seems like a pretty good trade. Overall, you then get a wide receiver one to add to your roster. And it's not a question. He's a wide receiver one on really a majority of NFL rosters. He'd be for sure the wide receiver one with the Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, it's Kadarius Toney labeled as that. Yeah, more like Rashee Rice. But that'd be nice to have Hopkins and Rashee as your 1 and 2 along with Kelsey. Should the Chiefs trade for D-Hop? That's the first question we're asking on today's show. I want you to let me know in the comments section. We're going to make this the pinned comment. Type T for trade if you think the Chiefs should make the trade for D-Hop, or type P for pass. If you've seen enough trade talk, you think, oh, well, no big deal. We're going to be fine with or without a trade. Pass on D-Hop. I don't want a guy who may or may not add something to this team. The Chiefs' wide receiver room, well, it's led by 3 guys. Rashee Rice, Jusin Watson, who hopefully will be returning from his injury this upcoming Sunday, and Skyy Moore. Rashee leads the team in receptions besides Travis Kelce. Watson has the best average, 21.9 yards per catch. And then Skyy Moore is the guy who we thought was going to be really the wide receiver 1 on this team, or at least potential to be wide receiver 2. Now he's not even there. The funny thing is, the labeled wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, Kadarius Toney, along with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, well, they're not even on this list because they're not in the top 3 in receptions, yards, or touchdowns. Kind of crazy to think about it at this moment. I think the funny thing about this is the Chiefs actually tried to get Hopkins this offseason, and they were unable to attain him. Now, that's probably because of his contract needs, his contract situations. But the funny thing is, this wasn't just like, oh, the Chiefs are trying to get him. That's like rumors. We're saying about this. No, this was like a legitimate thing. In fact, so legitimate, there was actually pictures being put out of DeAndre Hopkins in a Chiefs uniform. Edits made of him, what he would look like in the Red Kingdom. I mean, you can't tell me that doesn't look really, really good. On top of which, there were reports coming out this last spring, that Hopkins wanted Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback. Now, everybody wants Mahomes as his quarterback, but the fact that we have legitimate quotes from DeAndre Hopkins is kind of pretty crazy. Again, the fact that he was even allowed to be put into this actual edit is absolutely crazy. That's how close the Chiefs were to getting DeAndre Hopkins. And like I said, he wants Mahomes as his quarterback. He wants him. That's what he said. And he kind of mentioned that literally last spring. He said, who I would love to have the ball thrown? Oh, man, Patrick Mahomes, obviously. I mean, that's just kind of obvious right there. having Patrick Mahomes throw you the ball. It's actually really funny, to be quite honest with you. So I like it a lot. I think it could be worked, but you know what also could be awesome? Prize picks. I'm telling you what, my entries have been hitting lately, and I don't know why I've waited so long to play prize picks. You see, with prize picks, all you have to do is just go pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Prize picks is going to add a ton of excitement to the sports viewing experience. Watch your progress update in real time, win up to 25 times your entry amount, and cash out your winnings with quick scoring, settling, and withdrawals. With prize picks, it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. With Thursday Night Football tonight, I have my entries placed. Baker Mayfield, 230.5. I'm going more on that. Rachaad White, over 48.5. I'm going more on that. More on Stephon Diggs on a half touchdown. Yeah, I like that odds. Him and Josh Allen have been clicking. I think he's going to get that. My entry definitely going to pop. Go place your own prize picks. There's a couple of players you could pick for tonight. Why don't you go do it? Prize picks is the super simple way to play. In fact, I made those picks in less than 60 seconds. And with prize picks now offering Apple Pay, I got my deposit into my account really, really quickly. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. Shout out to Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Okay, so Hopkins contract. How does it work money-wise? Well, here's what we have. We have the $9,000 of signing bonus in his contract. That it was a 2-year, $26 million deal, $32 million total. But again, $9 million of it was in a signing bonus. The 2023 salary is actually the league minimum, meaning the Chiefs would pay him just $1.25 million. That's it. That's all it would take to have DeAndre Hopkins on your team. But the reason the Chiefs didn't sign him is exactly this. That $9 million signing bonus. Hopkins was asking for a lot of money, and he wanted it in the signing bonus. The Chiefs were one of the, well, I'm not going to say a few teams, but many teams that were contenders that weren't going to meet those needs, basically saying, listen, I am not going to give you that amount of money with really how old you are in the league. You're a wide receiver. You haven't really done much in the past couple years, injury prone. That's exactly why the Chiefs didn't sign him. But the Chiefs could honestly just finesse the whole system with this trade. You give a third-round pick, you pay $1.25 million. Most of the contract is sticking with Tennessee. I mean, that would be absolutely incredible. You just absolutely take out literally every single person who thought, Chiefs won't be able to do this. And now, guess what? Now you're able to. So, the question arises, though, are the Super Bowls coming for the Chiefs if they trade for D-Hop? Is Patrick Mahomes going to get an extra ring on his finger if the Chiefs are able to trade for D-Hop? Well, I want you to let me know in the comment section. I think this one could be open up for discussion. What do you think? Is D-Hop the guy that pushes the Chiefs already over the hump, or are they already there ready to go take those rings? The wide receiver depth chart, like I mentioned, Kadarius Toney being the 1, Marquez Valdes-Scantling being the 2, Skyy Moore being the 3, Rashee Rice being 4, although technically he was, in all reality, he's been the 1. Jusin Watson, hopefully we'll have him back. Justin Ross, there's a lot going on with him. Trading for McCole Hardman, thing is, nothing really jumps off the page here. Well, guess what? Hopkins could really boost this team to another level. So the Chiefs wide receivers this season have a 7.3% drop rate. That is 27th in the NFL. Not very good when there's 32 teams. Through 2022 and 2023, Hopkins has a 3.4% drop rate, 26th among all active wide receivers. Yeah, that's pretty good. Hopkins' 1.96 yards per reception since 2021 is also 21st in the NFL. He could really provide a substantial boost to this Chiefs team. And I really like what I've seen from Hopkins over the past couple of years. Like I mentioned, he's kind of an older guy in terms of wide receiver talent, but at the same time, he's shown he can be a usable object, usable wide receiver in this team, in this league. Over the last 4 seasons, obviously 2020 being his best when he played all 16 games back then, 115 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 12 average, 6 touchdowns. But again, you see that average, it's never dropped. It's just been how many games he's played, how many receptions he's had, and the touchdowns have kind of fluctuated throughout the years. I hope Veach can make this happen just because wide receiver 1 has been the talk since game 1. And I'm starting to question, was it just all talk? Like, was McCole Hardman the ultimate plan from this? Because if he was, that's fine, but it just doesn't seem like that should be it. I know it's kind of odd at this point to speculate and think all this, but given we have the trade deadline here coming up, it's what you got to talk about. Well, with that trade deadline, make sure you're subscribed for Chiefs trade coverage. If they make a move, we're going to put out a video as soon as possible. You're going to be the first to know if you're subscribed to the Chiefs Report about when and if the Chiefs make a move. One last thing I want to hit on today's show, and yes, it is Taylor Swift related. She actually had a report that she's buying a house in Kansas City. There were reports that maybe it was Travis Kelce who bought a house. Well, there was this tweet about a week ago now saying that swirling rumors, Taylor Swift purchased a $4 million home in Leawood, Kansas. Not a joke. Now, that's chump change to Taylor Swift, but the guy also said that it potentially could be $8 million. Listen, I'm happy for the couple, but Taylor Swift seems to be like she is going on a worldwide tour here, or her, I guess, international tour coming up in about a week. Guess she wanted a place to stay when she comes to visit her boyfriend. Well, that does it for us. Like the video if you're enjoying the Chiefs content, or if you're enjoying the Taylor Swift content. I know we got to talk about it every now and then, but that's it. That's all we got for you today. We appreciate it if you liked the video. As always, peace out.